Next up, we have a 1934 Stoner Super 8. We'll get a full restoration. It's got a stained cabinet, which I do not believe is correct. All right, let me get started on this, do some research, and I'll be back. Here's the power source in the game right now. So we have some rough cut 2x4s and 3 6-volt batteries. The one's leaking. No big deal. So let's continue on. I have the trim off the cabinet, and underneath the trim it's wood tone, so I'm not so sure this wasn't the original finish on it. Okay, we have the cabinet stripped to bare wood, so we're ready to move on to the cabinet repairs and then the finishing after that. The cabinet repairs are done and we're starting to color now. So this is just the initial base color. We're gonna do a candy on top of that, so to get it to look a little more like the original. So we'll be working on this, and then I'll show you the next step. We also have the black trim that needs done, but I want to get this base color matched to the original. It's been determined that this is the original color in the cabinet. It wasn't painted. When I took the side trim off, there was no paint underneath that. It was old bare wood, and then we found another reference from another game exactly the same way. So I'm pretty confident this is authentic and what it should be. So let me continue on, and I'll catch up when I do something else. I have the black trim and primer, so we'll let that dry overnight, get some good sanding on it, and put some color on it tomorrow. I now have the base color finished. So that's the hue we were going for. Ready to move on to the black. So we'll be getting the black on the legs and on the trim for the cabinet. Now these, from the research, these legs were not original, but the owner likes them better than the originals because the originals are kind of cheap looking. So these have a nice profile to them. So we'll be painting the centers black to match the trim on the cabinet, and then pretty much do it for the cabinet, and then we can start moving on to the playfield. And I'm working on the trim, so there was a couple marks that we had to fill on a bunch of them, so we'll let that dry, sand that, and be ready to shoot some black on these. And we're spraying the black on the legs now, so these are done. I'm gonna let this dry, and then we're gonna move on to the trim pieces for the cabinet. Okay, next up is we are installing the trim, the black trim on the side of the cabinet. So let's finish this up and we'll get ready to get this cab finished. This game takes a special leg bolt. It's 3/8 by 16 thread. So they had to be custom made. So we have a brand new set here, custom made for this game. So getting ready to put the legs back on it and start putting parts on the cabinet. Starting to put a couple parts on the machine. So we have the leg plates installed, and so we're ready for the legs. Got the lock on the coin door, and let me show you the leg levelers are installed. I'll be right back. So here's the legs finished with the leg levelers. All right, and here's a look with the legs just temporarily on. I got washers to go behind the leg bolts yet, but they're loosely fitted. This cabinet came out really nice. That wood is beautiful. working on putting some trim on, and the coin slide has a bezel below it that has a unique design, and the playfield has, on the ball arch, it has a visible window for a visible coin slide, but the coin slide that came out of it didn't have the visible window in it. So here's the one that came out of it, and I found I have a new old stock ABT, that's rare, but it doesn't have the profile of that one, and that profile matches the bezel underneath. So I'm looking at it, and the more I look at it, I thought this was replaced, but the more I look at it, the more I think this is the original. It just looks too, the profile of that base just looks too good to match that over there. And then the more I look at it, I think what happened here was, you see the 4 holes? I think somebody took the visible part off the coin slide. So let me go down in my parts stash and get out my visible coin slides and see if I can find something to fit that. I'll be right back. Okay, I got out my box of visible coin slides. You can see on a visible coin slide, it has this window right here. So let me see if I can cannibalize one of these and get one of those windows to work on that. So one problem we have here, there's a missing part. This is the shooter bezel that goes underneath that, and it's missing the top part that goes on the lock bar, so we had to fabricate that. So that's what I'm working on now. So I got the spindle sander going, so I just need to finish shaping that to fit around the shooter bezel where that black mark is, and we should be good to go. So that's got to match up with this piece here. So just a little bit more and we'll be good to go. Okay, here's the test fit, and looks good to me. So we can move on to the nickel plating. All right, the control knobs are really crusty, and these are unavailable, so I'm going to see about making new ones here. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so we have the nickel plating ready to go on the front. So we'll get this installed, and I'll continue to work on those control knobs to finish off the front here. Okay, so we got some nickel plating going on. So let's move on, finish those shooter rods, and we'll get those installed and get this finished up and get moving on to the play field. We're working on the shooter rods, the new control knobs. So we got 2 of the 3 made. I'm on the last one now, so let's continue on. Okay, finishing up the last rod here. So we just got to die it for the threads, and then we'll be done with this one. Here we have the finished shooter rods. So they're made out of stainless steel, and they're going to look really good. So big improvement over the ones that were in it. Let's get these installed. Okay, I got the game moved over into the finishing up bay. So we're going to try to knock this out this week. Next up is the play field. So we're going to start this. Already started trying to match the green for the ball arch, so we got that pretty much dialed in. I'm going to start taking this apart and getting it restored and then that'll be the last thing to do to finish this game up. I still have the interior parts to go back in, so I'll do that next. So there'll be some interior mechs for ball lifts and that kind of thing, and the power supply. So let's continue on. All right, I have the playfield stripped down and ready to restore, so let's continue on. And here are all the parts that came off. We got boxes of them, so let's get to work. Now working on the ball arch, getting that ready for primer. We're doing the repairs, and then we'll be starting the paint on it. I have the ball arch and the repairs done, and it's in primer. So we're gonna let this dry, then we'll do some sanding and get some color on it. So moving along. And we're starting the painting process. So we're gonna put another coat on this, and then this will be done. So I'll continue on. Okay, I'm now spraying the silver for the coin slide on the ball arch. So that's done. Let's unmask it, and I'll show you what we got. And here we have it unmasked, so the silver is done. Let's continue on. Okay, working on the power supply. So we have that mounted, and we just have to get the voltage right, and then I'll tie it into the playfield once I get that done. Ball arch is finished. And we have the instruction cards installed. So moving on to the mechanics that go inside the cabinet. All right, we have some parts going back on. So we have the ball lift knob installed and the bonus ball knob installed. And then all the interior parts are back in the game. Refreshed and back in the game. And everything's cleaned and adjusted, so it's working perfectly. Here's the ball lift. Now I'm getting the playfield going, so I refreshed it and then put a 70-year-old new old stock acrylic lacquer on it. So that'll tone down once it dries, and it'll look just like factory. It looks really good. Art and everything looks real nice on this. So once we put that new painted ball arch on this and get some parts on here, it's gonna look pretty good. I got the playfield parts cleaned and they're ready to go. So just have the underneath to do. The inserts get sprayed green, so be working on that next. I have the playfield springs, gates, tilt, everything restored, ready to go back on the playfield. I now have the bottom refreshed on the playfield, and the scoring holes are sprayed green. So from the top side, the edges will be green. So let's continue on. And now I have the wooden ball arch attached to the playfield. So we're going to move on to putting the parts on the underside. So let's get to it. Underneath the playfield now, so we got the castings restored and installed. Working on the wiring now, so I can't really go any farther because I have to restore these two boards. So we're gonna have to do those next. All right, so I have to do this drop board next in order to finish the wiring. So let's get this broken down and get it restored. Working on the ball drop panel parts, so the metals are restored and we're ready to put that back on. And here's the ball drop board that those parts go on. So that's been sprayed bright red. So let's get it put back together. And here we have the ball drop panel finished. Everything's restored, so it's ready to go back in the game. Let me flip it over, I'll show you the other side. All right, this is the second half of the ball drop panel, so we're gonna do this next. Alright, mixing up the paint for the Subway tray, the black, so we're going to get ready to spray that black now. Alright, this is the last piece I believe I have to restore. So this is a sub panel for the ball catch, and going to refresh this and get that ready to go back in the game. Alright, I have the bottom ball catch trays finished, ready to install. And here's the bottom side of the lower piece. Getting some metals ready to go back on the play field. So I got the shooter housing done. We're rebuilding the plunger right now, so we'll get that rebuilt and then we'll get it stuck on the play field. So starting to put the bottom side together. So we have the first ball drop board in, the gates for the scoring, and we're going to do the bottom pan now, put that on next. And I'm now starting to put the components back on the top side. So this restoration is winding down. The only major thing I have to do that's left is finish the wiring, put all new wiring in it. So hopefully that'll go smooth, and then we can think about firing this thing up. All right, working on the wiring this morning, so I got everything wired up, ready to test it out, and so I can put it in the game, test it, and then finish the wiring. We got the connection down there to finish, but everything's, as long as it's working, I got everything buttoned up on the bottom side of the playfield. I have the playfield in the cabinet now, so we're going to do the final connections on the wiring. So let me get that connected back up, and then we'll do some testing. Just finished wiring everything in, so we're all ready to go. Let's do a test fire. Okay, here's the first coin up. So we have power to it. Let's see if it works. So we got the super hole. Left, right. Okay, looking good. All right, let's test the leapfrog with a ball. That's what you want. All right, looking good. Doing the final punch list on this game before I finish it, and one of the things I wanted to do was put an inline fuse in. So that's done. Let's move on to probably the tilt. I now have the tilt installed, so that's all ready to go. All right, I'm back. I was going through the punch list and trying to get this done today, and I just realized I was testing. There's a lever underneath the coin slide that after you play a game, you can put a second coin in and push that rod in, then push the coin slide in, and it drops the balls from this very lower hole of the play field, but keeps your score in the rest of the play field. And I just realized I was trying to figure out how it works, and I just realized that it's missing the whole mechanism. So there should be a plate across here that when you push that rod in, this moves so it doesn't activate this ball drop board, but the coin slide goes above it and pushes some kind of rod here to move this plate. So No Flip Pinball is going to try to get me a picture off of their game, and I'm going to fabricate something and get that working. So I'll follow up when I get something done. Okay, so we got a new set of balls, so they're ready to go in. And here's the new balls just sitting in the game, just to give you a contrast. 9 green, 1 red. The odd color ball scores double. So the red scores double, the green scores whatever's denominations on the hole. Just finished installing the shooter bezel. So that's all rebuilt and functional. Can give you a little sample here. The ball gate won't work without the glass on, so it flips over backwards. The game was missing the coin box, so fabbed one up real quick. And here's what the coin box looks like installed in the machine. Just finished the game, other than putting the glass in it, the balls, and finishing everything up. But it was missing the bonus ball lever, so I worked that in. I had to fabricate a new one, so everything works now. And I finished the coin slide. All right, let's get it put back together and do the final video. Also on the play field, there's a hole up top called the super hole, and I'll show you what that does when you get the ball in there. Okay, so the super hole, when the ball goes in there, the bell rings down beneath, and then the left and the right channels activate. Okay, when the game's over, this game has an option for bonus balls, but you're gonna have to put another coin in. That's just another way of them getting more money from you. So the way it works is you push in the bonus knob, you put your coin in, and then you coin it up again. And it drops a certain amount of balls in at the lower portion of the playfield, which I'll show you now. So with the bonus coin, after the game is over, it releases the balls in this section right here only. The balls up in the upper portion of the playfield, that score stays, but those balls release. I'll release them right now. Second coin, here we go. Knob in, second coin. And that's how the bonus coin. So the reason you would want to put another coin in and do the magic button, they called it, is because depending on your score, you would win prizes or free games. So it was a way of them enticing you to put another nickel in to try to increase your score for more prizes. When you were done playing, your score would only count if the tilt was not triggered. So in this case, the score would not count because the ball fell off the pedestal. I'm not really sure what the theme is for Stoner's Super 8, but I think it has to do with the radio broadcasting back in the day, because we have a left channel, a right channel, and there was a radio with Super 8, which had 8 push buttons, but I think that came out later, so I'm not really sure. But I know in this era, radio was the big entertainment. People would sit around and listen to the radio, so pretty sure that's what it is. And we're spraying the black on the legs now. So these are done. I'm gonna let this dry and then we're gonna move on to the trim pieces for the cabinet.